Today we have Justin Trudeau on the program. He's going to talk about Canada's involvement in Afghanistan and answer some questions that people have submitted. The chain of events that led to Canadian troops landing in Afghanistan began on September 11, 2001. On this day, a terror attack was launched against the United States, which led to the start of a four-stage war. The first stage was ousting the Taliban from supporting the government from the country. Canada did this with Operation Apollo, an operation used to support US-led Operation Enduring Freedom. After this initial success, the United States and its allies, like Canada, started Phase 2 by rebuilding the country. Finally, Phase 3 for Canada began when Canadian Armed Forces members began combat operations in Qatar. This was our biggest conflict in the war, with nearly 3,000 CAF members there at once. In 2008, Parliament voted to extend this mission and added more Canadian troops after a jailbreak freed 400 Taliban fighters. In 2009, the Canadian government was informed that the Afghan prisoners were likely being tortured by local authorities in Qatar. By 2010, it was revealed that Canadian Security Intelligence Service interrogated captured Taliban fighters. They were cleared of this allegation in 2011. The same year, Canada ended its combat mission in Qatar. This led to the final stage, where some Canadian troops were left behind to train the local police in an attempt to keep the country afloat. By the time Canada's involvement ended in 2014, 40,000 Canadians had fallen, and 158 paid the ultimate price in the defense of our country. What do you think some lasting effects of Canada's involvement in Afghanistan will be? I think it's too early to judge how history will look back upon this event, but it is an undeniable fact that at least for the time being, Afghanistan is better than it was in 2001. But it is important that countries like Canada take the lead in helping people in Afghanistan in a peaceful way. Recently, you have gone back on promises you made to veterans. You have not fixed the pension for soldiers injured after 2006. That was cut to 1/2 of what it would have been under the old system by a previous government. Veterans are so worried about this that they have brought you to the Supreme Court with the Equitas case, the goal of which is to get the money back that they would have received under the old system without what they call government clawbacks. The reason that we are fighting those veterans in court right now is because the government does not have enough money to pay for it right now. And you would notice that our new plan actually covers the whole life of the veterans, which will balance out the cost over time. It would balance out if they live for another 200 years at this pace, and you say the Canadian government cannot afford to pay veterans, yet you just gave a terrorist $10.5 million in a settlement. My question to you is, when you said you were a friend of veterans, were you talking about our veterans who fight for freedom, or the veterans who want to kill everyone sitting in this room, including you? What has happened with this case is unfortunate, but by paying the settlement, the Canadian government will avoid paying more for its illegal detention and torture of a Canadian citizen. It will also show future Canadian governments that it is not okay under any circumstances to torture people. I'm sure that would be very comforting to the family of the American soldier he killed and the one he blinded for life. I don't imagine it will be, but a measure of a just society is not whether we stand up for people's rights when it is easy, but it is what we do when it is difficult to do so. What's your position on the Canadian military moving forward? I see Canada taking on a larger peacekeeping job on the world stage. We do not intend to take up a combat role in Syria because we are trying to withdraw from Operation Impact, our combat mission in Iraq, so it would not make sense to dig our hole deeper. Do you intend to spend more money on the Canadian military? No, our official policy is that we are already readjusting military spending, and we do not intend to lower it anymore. That is all the time we have for today. But thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for your time.